Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of the TypeAlias Show live stream. I'm so glad you're here. We've got a lot going on today. We're going to check in on the latest updates to the Kotlin roadmap. We're going to look at some of the recent multi-platform plans that were announced, and we've got a special guest joining us today who's going to show off some of the latest updates in Firebender, which is a popular coding agent for Android Studio. As always, with me today behind the scenes is my lovely producer, who also happens to be my wife, Elizabeth. Round of applause for Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, you might actually have to hit the applause button yourself today. I think my Stream Deck's not working there. All right. Well, let's see. As you guys know, chat is one of my absolute favorite parts about doing live streams. So everybody say hello in chat. We are broadcasting to, we're broadcasting to YouTube, to LinkedIn, and I think we might even be trying out X today. I'm not sure, but wherever you are, feel free to say hello in the chat, make friends. Feel free to ask questions all throughout the live stream. And also, if someone else asks a question and you know the answer to it, feel free to respond to them. And that's a big help to me and to the person who's asking, because I can't always get to every question as quickly as I'd like to. So so this is your live stream. So everybody say hi and make friends. Now, I got to say, Elizabeth and I really missed doing these live streams over the summer. Our last one was just before Kotlin Conf. And we had such a great time there, getting to meet so many of you. And some of you I had interacted with online for like years, and finally got to meet in person, which was really exciting. And in fact, I think we might have spent more time hanging out in the hall meeting people than we spent in the actual presentations. It was that much fun getting to meet everybody. And ever since we got back from that trip, of course, I've been heads down. You probably know I've been working on the coroutines course, for a good 6 days a week, sometimes 7. So the live streams just kind of ended up taking a little bit of a backseat for a little while, but we are thrilled to be back at it today. The course is coming along really well. We've got 8 modules complete out of the 12 that are planned. So we're expecting early access will probably wrap up in mid-October. And I know some of you guys were waiting. We capped the first enrollment group to just 25 people. And we finally did open it up again this week for more folks to join us. So if you're waiting for that, you can still join in. You can just head over to courses.typealias.com/coroutines. You can learn more about that there. And since it's still in early access, you can still get it at the early access price. All right, so as I mentioned, we've got a very special guest with us today, Kevin Tang. He's going to show off some of the neat things you can do with Firebender, some of its latest features. And I'm going to be interested to get his perspective on just the state of AI coding agents. Now, I've got some friends who are they use AI as a daily part of their development process. I've got other friends who use AI mainly as a way to diagnose issues, kind of like a context-aware search engine almost. And I've got other friends who just decline to use AI as part of their development process at all. So there's a kind of a wide spectrum of perspectives on it. And I want to know your thoughts on it. So for those of you who are tuning in on YouTube, we've got a poll open for you there. Let us know which of the options best represents your disposition toward AI coding agents. And Kevin and I will take a look at those poll results very soon. Well, with that, we are about ready to get into some of the latest news, but let's just say hello to a few of you. We've got Umberto says hello, and Best Guy, and really everybody's saying hello. And we also have Kevin saying yo, yo, yo. So Kevin is sitting behind the scenes, and he's also ready to go. All right, so let's jump into the news segment. Typically, I spend quite a bit of time on the latest news in the Kotlin and Android worlds, but since we've got a guest today and we've got a pretty big coding session going on, we're going to move a little faster through the news than we typically would. But there are a few updates that I wanted to cover. And the first, this is hot off the press, just released today, was this one announcing Kotlin 2.2.20. And so this, literally, I saw this just as we were getting ready to do the live stream. So I haven't had a great chance to look over a lot of the details, but some of the stuff in here actually does look pretty cool, especially for more of a minor update. So let's take a look at the, well, I guess the first thing that they announced at the top here is that the Kotlin WebAssembly is in beta. So that's pretty exciting. And there are some interesting language feature updates as well. I'm going to come down here to the support for return statements in expression bodies. This is interesting. So previously we weren't allowed to use a return as part of an expression body. You would use it as part of a block body, but not as part of an expression body. And so now you can use a return in an expression body. And the example that they give here shows how you can use like return kind of inside this expression. So it kind of avoids, I guess, the need. I would probably have solved this using like a scope function in some way otherwise. But yeah, it opens up some interesting possibilities there. Something I'd never even thought to ask for. So, but it seems like it could be pretty, open up some neat things we could do with it there. Also some changes to the exhaustiveness checks for when expressions. This is interesting. So this is kind of looking broader than just the when expression to see what you might have to account for. So up here you can see they've got the enum class user role with 3 different entries to that enum class. And you can see there's this return here at the top for if it's admin. So you don't actually have to specify that one down here in the when with this feature. So this is experimental, but seems pretty cool. And also we've got this one here for supporting reified types in catch clauses, which is one of the things that you can't do so far with reified types is use them in a catch. And this is something that I always thought it was kind of like, oh, it'd be neat if we could. So so this will allow us to do that, which is pretty fascinating. I didn't realize that was coming down the pike. So those are some of the fun things that are included with Kotlin 2.2.20. Some of them are going to be experimental features, of course, that you need to opt into. But we do have a new Kotlin roadmap that just came out a couple weeks ago. And this is where the Kotlin team shares their priorities for the different parts of Kotlin. And let's jump into they've got it broken down by subsystem. The languages, the language features are in a separate list. So I'm going to come over here to a separate page where we can see some of these. And the one I wanted to start off with was the one at the top, which is the rich errors. And this one's going to be a pretty big change to the way that developers work with recoverable problems. So when this feature lands, we'll effectively have like union types, but for error cases only. So try catch will still be used for unrecoverable problems, but a function that could introduce an error case will return a union that could be either the successful result or the error case. And Michael, the lead language designer on the Kotlin team, he presented about this topic at KotlinConf this year. And that presentation is definitely worth watching. We've got a link for that one in the description, at least on YouTube. I will make sure we get that description added to the other platforms that we're broadcasting to as well. Now, they actually say that they have not updated this. They say the keep proposal is not defined, but they did actually recently produce this proposal for the rich errors. And there's a lot here. So if this is something that you're interested in providing feedback on, I'm sure the Kotlin team would probably love to get your thoughts on it, give the keep a read. Maybe we can do a keep peek on this in a future live stream segment. Let's see, we can go back here. There's also the explicit backing fields. This one's been on the radar for a really long time. This is the case where, of course, when you've got a class with a public property, you can make like its getter public and its setter private. But sometimes you want, not that, but you want an object to be able to change internally from the class, but not outside the class. So as an example, let's say we've got a list in our class, and it's a public property, but we want it to be mutable from inside the class, but not mutable. We want it to be read-only from outside the class. And so right now, if we were to do something like that, we typically end up doing like 2 different properties. One of them is named with an underscore, and it's got private access, and it's a mutable list. And then the public one would be converted just to a list. And so this is going to help out with that, where you won't have to create 2 properties for that. You'll be able to just declare that all in a single property. So pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool idea there. And it's not going to actually allow you to change the types. So for example, one of the most common cases for me doing two properties for like one logical type, one logical property is the case where I've got like a state flow in an object and I need to do like dot as like a mutable state flow internally and a regular state flow externally. Well, we can't really do that with this one. It just kind of does the cast. So your clients could still end up casting it back and messing with things that way. But on the whole, I think this will be a pretty cool feature to have coming soon. And the other one I want to mention was this context-sensitive resolution. So if you've ever used enum classes and you've asked yourself why you have to fully qualify the entries with the class name, well, you're not alone. This feature will allow you to no longer need to qualify static references when the type is known. So this is going to affect things like enum classes, nested sealed types, and so on. And the main reason I want to mention this one is that it's now available as a preview. There's an opt-in feature flag for it. So you can try it out in your hobby projects. All right, let's come down here and see if we had anything. Okay, that's it for the language. Let's go back to the main roadmap page. We've got supporting coroutines in Swift Export. That's pretty exciting. We did a segment on Swift Export a little while ago, and I'd love to check in on that again. So maybe we'll do that in an upcoming live stream again. Now, down here is the ticket for the Kotlin language server, which will allow you to use your favorite IDEs and text editors, and they'll still have a good, solid Kotlin experience. As somebody who's been using JetBrains IDEs for like a decade or more, I haven't had much interest in this one, but I know a lot of you have been really eager to get your hands on an LSP for Kotlin. So there you go. That is on the list here. And then we've got the notebooks supporting new use cases there. And we don't have much information about this ticket yet, but some of the ideas that they're exploring include support for Compose, some improvements to databases, and even some cells for AI prompts, which could be pretty cool. The notebooks feature has a lot of uses. If you're interested in some of them, you can check out our last episode, which, like I mentioned, was a little while back, but I showed off a few of the fun things that you can do with notebooks. All right, let's move over to, here we go. Let's move over to this article is specific to Kotlin Multiplatform and Compose Multiplatform. We just got a few things here that I wanted to mention specifically here that the JetBrains is going to just continue to adapt some of the Jetpack libraries from Android so that they can be used with Compose Multiplatform. For the Multiplatform IDE plugin, now you might remember when when JetBrains first released this, I think they announced it at KotlinConf if I remember. And a lot of us were really excited about it, but we also quickly realized that this was for Mac only. So they're working on making it available for Windows and Linux as well. Of course, that is still going to be limited in what it can do for iOS just because of the way that the Apple tooling works. Now, if you've done even small projects with KMP, you've probably run into issues where you're trying to figure out which versions work with each other. So they've got some plans to create a compatibility matrix to make it easier to get the right IDE, library, and Gradle plugin combination. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm guessing since that's under, I haven't talked to anybody about this at JetBrains, but since it's under the plugin, I'm guessing that'll have some kind of representation in the plugin, like maybe some checks, inspections, and things like that that would tell us if we're using versions that won't work. All right, and the Swift export also has a kind of a wide release date for it, expecting 2026. So that'll be really exciting as well. All right, and then the last news that I wanted to cover before we get to coding today is the Stack Overflow 2025 survey results, and these were published recently. And naturally, we always need to take surveys with a grain of salt, but the Stack Overflow survey has a pretty wide reach, so I tend to put a little more stock into it than some of the other tech surveys that are out there. So here's the historical data for this survey over the past few years. And it looks like Kotlin has finally broken the 10% bar, which is pretty exciting. There were a few years you can see where things seem to have sort of leveled off a bit between 2021 and 2024, all kind of hovering there around the 9% mark. But it did get a bit of a jump this year compared to last year. Now, I will say I'm a little curious about the numbers this year. A handful of the languages stayed roughly where they were. I think Java and C# might have stayed roughly where they were. But a number of them saw pretty significant bumps. Some of them made sense. So for example, Python saw an almost 8-point jump, and that one makes sense given its use in the AI world. But there were also some bumps that I didn't quite understand, like PowerShell went from 14% to 23%. Groovy went from 3.8 to 5.3, which, yeah, I mean, Groovy, I don't know, like it's not what I would have expected it to grow by 40%. So some things are not quite lining up with my intuition. The sample size did decrease to only about 54%, I think, is what I've found out, of what it was the previous year. So maybe those numbers had something to do with it. I don't know. I'm not a statistician, but I find myself a little skeptical about some of the numbers. So if anybody in chat has thoughts as to why some of these languages might have increased more than others, or more than we would have expected, I'd love to hear from you. All right, and speaking of surveys, we are going to check in on the poll results in just a moment. But first, I wanted to introduce our special guest for today. Kevin Tang is co-founder of Firebender. He built the first coding agent in Android Studio about a year ago, and he's been really on the frontier of the AI coding agent space since then, with some large companies out there using it, including Tinder and Toast and lots of others that you've heard of. Well, everybody, welcome to the stage, Kevin Tang. All right.
Hello.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Dave. Like, this is awesome. I'm super excited. But yeah.
A little bit earlier for you. I think we are, like, it's after 10 o'clock here for us, but I think you're out in California, right? So you're just past 8 a.m. there?
Yeah, right now it's 8 a.m. my time. It's super sunny, great, beautiful California weather. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for getting up a little earlier for us and making this happen today. We really appreciate having you here. We got a poll out in chat, as I mentioned before, for kind of gauging how our friends in the audience are using AI for development. You want to take a look at that together? All right, let's see here. We've got 59% says that they do where AI writes it and they review it. 29% goes for answering questions with no coding. And the others are 5%. So kind of the sides of that spectrum are 5%. So a lot of people kind of in the middle there.
So 95% of people are using AI now.
That's actually a good way of putting it. Yeah, there's a lot of people using it now.
Yeah, wow. A lot of change.
Yeah, really exciting. So, Kevin, when we first started talking about the idea of having you join the live stream, I mentioned to you that I tend to have kind of personally sort of a moderate stance on AI for development. I mentioned earlier that we've got some developers are all in on it. Some choose not to use it. I've literally got friends, like close friends, who are all across the spectrum on it. So I did want to share just a little bit for everyone watching, just so that they know where I'm coming from. I tend to use AI to generate things that have like a particularly clear specification to them. So things like maybe stubbing out an HTTP client from an API spec, for example. But when it comes to like business logic, I tend to prefer kind of like writing it myself and using AI as a first pass code review for it. So that's where I'm coming from. But also today, like I really want to see just how far you can push Firebender. So like, don't hold back on us. Definitely, show us everything it can do.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's interesting, like even based off these poll results, it seems like around 5% don't use AI at all. And then you have like the other 5% on the complete opposite side who's just like, okay, yeah, like I'm just going to vibe code. Some people don't even like read the code that AI is giving it, which I think is definitely concerning. Like you should be reading the code and making sure that like it makes sense. It's like if you had a bunch of, interns working at your company and then they made pull requests on GitHub and without looking at the code, you just started merging all the pull requests, which is a lot for sure. But yeah, I mean, the poll seems like pretty sensible though, like relative to like what I understand. And I think also your stance is like a little bit more of a moderate take. I think what's interesting as well is how quickly things are changing. Like if you look at where things were at maybe a year or 2 years ago, and we were to do this poll, I would imagine like maybe 50% of engineers were using AI at the time. And so like there's definitely like a trend line here as well that's important, not just necessarily the absolute numbers at the moment as well. But I'm also curious on what your thoughts are on that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think like there's definitely been a trend toward using it overall, and I think there's certainly some level of polarization. I think when you've got, we can speculate, and there's sometimes speculation and conjecture that brings us to the conclusion that maybe all coders are going to be out of jobs in 6 months or whatever. You hear all these things, but I'm kind of there are also a lot of people who are just getting good value out of AI and able to be more productive with their coding than they were before. So yeah, I think there's just a lot of emotion tied up in as well. I think when we have technology like this that seems like it could be really powerful, but also is honestly still like it's come a long ways, but it's also still, if we're being honest, still very nascent technology, and we still we don't really know quite where it's going to go or how it's going to take things over. It's possible that at some point, like programming languages themselves maybe would be completely irrelevant, and AI just writes literal bits for producing binaries, right? I don't know. I suppose that's possible, but I don't think that's really the direction that we're taking things at this point. So anyway, well, you do work in a field that I'm not as familiar with. You've been working on AI coding agents, and I haven't ever written a coding agent or any kind of AI agent for that matter, and I've only used them a little bit. And like you said, the trend has been changing over time, and it seems like even the agents have themselves come a long way over the past few years. So as somebody who's been really at the front of all this stuff, I'd love to hear about like what kinds of those changes you've seen, even just over the past like 2-3 years or so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think first one really important thing to note here is that in terms of like the jobs, like, oh, is AI going to take away my jobs? And there definitely is a lot of emotion tied into this change. I mean, with any technological change where you have this shift where a lot of people's entire experience in the world is going to change, like that is really hard. Like that is, there are a lot of engineers, there are a lot of Android engineers, right? And so I think one of the best ways to understand change as well and like plan for it is to kind of like actually see what the history is like right now, like kind of playing right in front of our eyes. That's why I wanted to talk about this as well. Yeah, I mean, I've been working at Firebender. We've been doing this for a decent amount of time, a couple years now. We started on this idea about a year ago, but very early on, like I was using GitHub Copilot to do this tab autocomplete. And I'm sure you remember, like this is almost like maybe one of the very first AI experiences or whatever you want to call it that a lot of engineers got to actually feel for the first time, where as you type, you have this like ghost text that pops up and it kind of just reads your mind. And that was really cool. And like sometimes it was actually really annoying because like it wouldn't know exactly what I wanted to write, the code that I actually wanted to do. It was kind of just mimicking something that it saw in the field, like maybe in open source. And this is a very common, like maybe common experience that I've seen amongst other developers, but it was kind of good. It was like good enough. It did speed me up, but also I was confused. I don't know. It just, right. And the funny thing is that I think a lot of engineers at the time, they did not think that same technology would scale to this autonomous coding agent that is now writing full features. Like that was not in my head at all at the time. I was not thinking like, oh, okay, so this thing can guess a couple characters. Like, so what? Like, right? Like that. that was my mental state at the time. And so, I think the crazy thing that started happening is one, that alone, that autocomplete propelled GitHub Copilot to be used by millions of developers immediately, and a lot of people are paying it just to have a couple characters completed faster. And so it's an interesting like little like initial like wedge, or maybe not wedge, but explosion of like, like just this small little thing can be so pervasive, and now so many engineers are using it. And that's why like later in early 2023, so now like we're kind of shifting a little bit. So there's Copilot, then there are a lot of other, like Copilot was also not alone in this. There are a lot of other autocomplete companies, like SuperMaven was a very, very popular one. That very strong team, really, really good autocomplete. There's also like Tab9, there was Kite. There's so many companies, even startups, like ranging from startups to big companies, and some of them failed, and Copilot like succeeded in the autocomplete and kind of captured that market. Okay, so that was kind of pre-2021, I'd say, 2022. Now, at the start of 2022, something pretty crazy happened. I'm sure you remember. OpenAI releases GPT-3 and GPT-4 very closely after. And that was definitely not in my bingo card of like something that would happen where you could now talk to rocks. Okay, like I'm talking to a GPU and it is giving me a coherent response back. Like that, it's just like it's very weird that's not even that long ago. And so that was like a very big inflection point. And so after that happened, I was a big power user of Cursor like early 2023. And so they were probably one of the first like startups or first set of people to really take advantage of GPT-4 for like an actual integrated coding experience. And what's funny is that at the time, like I was using Cursor and a lot of people don't realize this, but Cursor did not have a coding agent when they first started. There was no coding agent. There was also no autocomplete. All it was, like in my experience, was just a side chat pane that pops up like as you code, and then also like a little like modal that kind of pops up where you can select a piece of code and start like editing it in plain English. Very, very simple stuff. And like I spent a lot of time reverse engineering Cursor, and because I was just curious, okay? And so like all of these things were just single prompt requests. Like a lot of people didn't realize it, but it was just, instead of swiping back and forth between Cursor or between VS Code and ChatGPT, you could just talk to ChatGPT about your code like right there. But there was no coding agent, and it was super simple. The other funny thing though is like Aman and I, my co-founder, were discussing this, and like at the time I was also really worried for them. I was just like, this startup is like, this seems like a GPT wrapper is probably gonna fail.
Put GPT on the in another window next to the IDE, right?
Literally, yeah. I was just like, there's no way you could just put GPT like in a window inside the IDE and that'll work. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. But at the same time, I was using it every day. Like I could not imagine my life without Cursor. I was like, I'm never going back to VS Code. Copilot sucks. It doesn't have a chat and it's not very good. But I didn't put two and two together, right? And so that kind of caused like this like Cambrian explosion. Like then Cursor started blowing up, like started actually growing very, very fast. And I think that caught the attention of a lot of big research labs, a lot of other startups as well. I mean, you'll see startups say like, I am Cursor, but for customer support, right? Like just completely unrelated fields, but still using like the Cursor name and saying like, hey, I'm Cursor, but for this, right? And so then then Anthropic releases Claude 3.5. And this is like another paradigm shift where we went from like, okay, you have the autocomplete, you have the chat, right, with ChatGPT. GPT-4 seems pretty smart. And then now with Claude 3.5, all of a sudden it like, one thing that Cursor kind of pioneered here is that they realized that it could actually start iterating on the code directly. And this was kind of something that, I think not many engineers like at the time thought it was going to be a thing and like thought it was actually going to be reasonably possible. And this is probably what I would say is like one of the early, maybe first coding agents that gained mass popularity. It was called Composer at the time. And a lot of engineers really loved it, really liked it. Some of them hated it at the time, but like then as the models, like the actual frontier models started getting much better, that coding agent became much much more valuable over time. And so fast forward now to today. So we had the coding agent that, Claude 3.5, I think, was released in like late 2023. And now we're in like 2024, 2025. In those periods, now you start seeing things like Claude Code. You see like Codex and Gemini CLI. A lot of these CLI tools started taking off and popping off. At the time, you had Aider. So this is like a completely different stream now of like just CLI-based tools and non-IDEs. And the interesting thing is that CLI tools didn't really work that well like in 2023 and 2024. And a lot of people didn't realize this. I think Aider was super popular partly because of their benchmark, but in like actual practice, like no one we talked to is actually using it. They were just using Cursor, right? And so, but at the same time, Claude 4 gets launched, and then GPT-5 gets released, and now a lot of these CLI tools can be much more agentic and can actually start doing like a lot of parallel workflows, right? And start perusing through the code base, and now you have million token context windows, and like this basically starts making a shift where it makes that UX a little bit more possible. I have my own opinions on like the terminal versus like IDE experience, but I am a little biased here, so I'll throw that out. But I think, yeah, because Firebender is primarily just like integrated into IntelliJ and Android Studio, and that's the thing that we really want to focus on. But I think generally now we're at a point where you start seeing things like Devin from Cognition, where instead of it just being a terminal-based coding agent where it runs on your computer, now we're starting to see like, okay, well, how do I hook this into my CI/CD? How do I hook this into like my Jira ticketing and just like kick off something that works in the cloud? And then now an engineer can pull down that code after it implements like all these things in parallel and like have an engineer actually clean it up. But like 70% of the work is sort of done. And that's kind of potentially where things are heading. Like that seems very clear that's going to be the future, is just like more and more steps of it are going to be primarily done by LLMs, like so that we don't have to do as much work. But yeah, that is like a very concise brief history. I'm curious if like you have any, I know that's a lot. I don't know. Any
yeah, no,
that?
Yeah, fascinating. And much more context and detail than I've, like I said, I haven't really kept up very much with it. And so it was a very fascinating history of it. And yeah, there's a lot of that world that I just hadn't been involved in. I think I definitely used a little bit of the Copilot stuff when it first came out, when it was just kind of copying and pasting from open source projects, and it was kind of like, yeah, like you said before, kind of like adding a few characters, right? And a lot of the suggestions I ended up turning off even on things today, just because it kind of interrupts my train of thought, I guess, as I'm typing something. I'm kind of going in one direction and I feel like I get interrupted. So I turn that off, but I know, other people do have some pretty good experience with that as well. But but that was it for me for a while ago there with GitHub Copilot. And then just kind of I'd use GPT just kind of like to just chat GPT to review some like, stuff that I'd like paste in, like how can I do this better, that kind of thing, just to kind of help analyze things. But in terms of actually working with it as part of my development flow, it really wasn't until a little more recently that I started kind of going down that road. So there's a lot of, I feel like there's kind of an inflection point that I'm we've really hit or we're about to hit, huh?
Do you use a coding agent at all, like in your development experience? Is that something that you feel like has like grown in your development flow, or not really? Like it's kind of just still a side thing. And,
I feel like it's still, I feel like it's still a little bit of a side thing for me. So like I have used, of course I've done videos on Junie before, and I do use that for things as well. And so yeah, it's like I just haven't quite gotten to where I feel like I quite know the optimal way to use it, where I think, just like handing off some very English worded requirements as opposed to like very detailed spec. And actually that's something we can talk about at some point too, because I know there have been things moving forward on like spec driven development, that kind of thing for AI. But I feel like for me, I just haven't really figured out that flow of like, what is the optimal way to incorporate this. And it might be a little different for everybody depending on even their psychology, right? The way that they think and work and develop. But yeah, I feel like I haven't quite nailed it yet. And so I do use it a lot for explaining things. I think as somebody who likes to learn about things and kind of learn the range of things, being able to get quick answers on detailed questions and getting very context sensitive or context aware replies on things is really helpful. So I have found a lot of use out of it, but in terms of I still feel like I just haven't quite hit the right groove with with a coding agent to where it's actually like, this is how I work. I think a lot of people have gotten there, but I haven't quite gotten there yet. So I don't know. That's maybe something that you could tell us a little bit about, is kind of like the different maybe personality types and kind of how different people have found, especially as somebody who, you interact with people using Firebender all the time, I'm sure. So what kind of workflows have you seen? Like what kind of, there are probably distinct categories of ways that people interact with it.
Yeah, I think one of the very popular use cases, especially, well, one obvious one is for anyone who's like onboarding to an existing very large code base. It can be really daunting to have to spam like your senior engineer and be like, hey, Bill, like, how do I do this? And that answer to that question is reading many, many code files, which I don't really think any engineer wants to spend a lot of time doing, especially if you want just a quick answer to your question. And so like that's something that's really popular. Just have like an LLM with a million tokens of context, just read a bunch of files and point to you like, hey, Kevin, like you might want to look at this. Like this seems relevant to you. And we've kind of proved out that use case. That's very obvious, partly because like we use Firebender to build Firebender. And so we were not familiar with like the IntelliJ Community Edition repository. And so this is something we constantly do. And IntelliJ itself is open source and it is a very massive repo. And so there are a lot of hooks that we need to take advantage of. And we just use Firebender to peruse through like thousands of files to just tell us like, hey, this is how you implement this like go to definition tool feature, right? That's one example. There's several other examples where, you can have it write actual UI components for you with like a screenshot of a Figma or paste a Figma link. And this is not like pixel perfect yet. This honestly, there's a long tail of problems here, but at the very least, it'll get like maybe an engineer 60% of the way there, and then they can just round out all the rough edges where like the AI can't like visually see for some reason what the right color is. I don't know. But I think in terms of personas, something that's interesting is that that's kind of like maybe surprised me is the people who would get the most value out of something like this are probably senior engineers. Like they have the most potential because, you already understand the architecture of everything and like understand like best practices. And you're kind of just like, coaching this like junior engineer to just do everything, right? But the weird thing is that a lot of senior engineers are very averse to using AI. Like I would say that many that I've talked to, there's still a very large portion who's just like, I have my workflow, I'm going to use my workflow, don't talk to me. And that's not like, I don't necessarily think that that's wrong. It's just like, that's just kind of what I'm noticing. And then all the junior engineers and like people who are in college are like, write my essay for me, ChatGPT. Like,
right, yeah, use it for everything.
Do everything. Like, I don't want to do anything. Like, all the Gen Zers, like, do all of it. Go. Yeah. And so I think that's, but the downside of that is that, like, they don't necessarily have the, like, experience or wisdom to understand the right architectural trade-offs, right? Or to understand why an AI coding agent might be messing something up here. And they'll just hit accept and, like, vibe code and look at the code and just be like, yeah, seems decent. Like, let's just go with it, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think something that would be helpful for me is even just to see you like working with Firebender and see like what your workflow is. I think a lot of people would probably benefit from that. So do you want to maybe you can start firing things up for that, and I'll start kind of looking through some of the comments that we've had a few come in the meantime, and we can highlight a few of those and take a look at those in a moment.
Yeah, totally. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna have my screen up. Okay, now this is so some context here. I enjoy playing chess. I'm not like the best at it, but I play chess a lot on chess.com, on Rapid. It's fun. And I was thinking that we could vibe code a entire app from scratch. And I know, Dave, you're not like super into vibe coding or like haven't really like just trusted the vibes. So I just thought
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I haven't trusted the vibes.
yeah, trusted the vibes. This is like some Gen Z stuff. And I think we'll just vibe code a chess game together and with a little twist. So one thing I don't like about chess.com is that whenever I play against like in single player mode, and I play against like an AI, I want to be able to like interact with the AI that I'm playing with. Like I want to be able to message it, or it can describe its move to me and make moves as well. So that's going to be something that I'll implement at the end. But we're going to just go ahead and get started. So let's see here. I'm going to create a new project, and this will be completely from scratch. So yeah.
Yeah. So do you go through the wizard first, and then like you don't use Firebender to like actually construct the initial project? Okay.
Yeah. This is like the fastest way to do it. So I think we are also. I potentially have to do this in like 20 minutes. So this will be a crazy speed run.
But we got a little more time than that. We can go till like quarter after or half after, something like that.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, typically we do try to wrap it up in an hour, but yeah, with everything in this one, we definitely, we'll definitely keep room for it here.
Okay, great. Sounds good. And okay, so I have I just initialized like an Android, like a simple Android repo. This will have, like we'll build refresh just to make sure everything looks right. Okay, cool. So this is like the basic greeting. If I run play as well, I just want to get the emulator loaded up, make sure that's good. Okay, let's see here. Okay, very nice. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just like initialize the repo, just do a git init. Just make sure that we have everything. Okay, and I'm gonna start firing off stuff with Firebender.
Okay, maybe we might need to move our faces out of the way a little bit here. Let me see. Or are you able to slide that Firebender tab a little bit to the right for now?
We can do that.
Okay.
How is that?
Yep, there you go, perfect.
Thank you. Okay, awesome. Okay, great. So I'm gonna add all this and just say, okay, cool. And I think the very first thing that we need here is like a chessboard. I'm gonna quickly draw this out. Let's find a Figma for this. This will be like super casual. I think, yeah, I checked a few of these. This seems like the best. Let's see here. Nope. Some of these Figma assets, they'll have like a PNG of the actual design instead of the design itself, and that's quite frustrating because we need the actual assets itself. So here, this seems pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this as a PNG, and I'm gonna draw exactly what we want first, just so we have a basic design. Okay, so xCalDraw, get rid of that. Boom. So what I'm thinking here is this will be like the phone, right? We'll have a chessboard in the middle, and then at the bottom here, we'll have things like, message 1 from the user, and then like the AI can respond to AI message like 0, right? And then also like an input box at the bottom here. So super basic. And we're going to also code up the backend as well for this from scratch. Like all this will be done right now ad hoc. I'm going to go ahead and just start copying this. So we need all the assets here. So I'm going to prompt Firebender and just be like, can you create a basic chessboard composable for this, please? Okay. We're going to switch modes to composer here.
I love that you're so polite too. You say please.
Yes, yeah. This is a bad habit. You don't have to say please. But
better results that way, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I sometimes I feel bad because it's like doing so much work for me. So
I do it as well for what it's worth.
yeah, no, exactly. And okay, while that's going, I am going to open I'm going to create a new project. So we're going to cd dot dot. We'll just call this backend, right? And then I will open this. We'll go to Android Studio Projects, backend. We're going to do new window. Boom. Okay, so we'll have our backend, and then we'll have our like front end here, which is the actual app. This is also completely from scratch, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask Firebender to, can you create a simple, I don't know, KTOR web server service, host on 8080, and have a sample endpoint that responds hello world for now, such that I can curl localhost 8080 and get hello world. Okay, so yeah, and we're just going to kick this off as well. Okay, great. So let's see where the front end is at. Okay, interesting. So it did not get the actual chess pieces. Can you get the actual chess pieces as well? And right now the board in the preview has spacing between, which it shouldn't. Also, again, like just for the sake of time, I'm not going to be reviewing the actual code, which you should be reviewing the code for sure. But this will like just test Firebender to see like how much it can actually build for us here. And also like a quick rundown of what it's doing. With the Figma URL, it can access the Figma node data and start getting assets directly like that. So yeah, we'll let this run as well. And you can see here it's like downloading all the Figma images directly. It's downloading 12 images, and then it'll also convert any SVGs directly into vector drawables.
Oh,
so
no way. From like,
yeah,
I might use it just for that.
yeah, no,
just
no,
to,
literally.
Just to grab my Figma files and yeah, turn them into the drawables. That's still a manual process I've been doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
really
something
cool.
something we also have coming soon is we're going to be using like a sort of like a semantic search to deduplicate assets so that you make sure that you always download like assets that are not like, if there's any similar asset, it'll tell Firebender to just reuse that asset. And that's something that's coming very soon.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So it's going to go ahead and keep working on this. I'm going to check on the back end here. And here we can see that it is just like hammering away. Oh, wait, let's keep this minimized here. And so it's going so Firebender has access to a lot of tools, right? Like it can edit files. It can also like have auto import fixes and then get lint error feedback directly from the IDE. Another thing too that it can do is run terminal commands and also sync Gradle for you directly to like make sure like it has all the dependencies and the build and all these artifacts are set up correctly. And so it's just going to keep going until like it has a working backend service, and it's trying a bunch of different commands here. And finally now it has like a Gradle run. So it looks like it actually got it. If I do, let's see here, curl localhost 8080. Okay, so this is running now in Hello World. So it was able to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this and accept all the changes here. Okay, so we have our basic KTOR service. If I take a look as well, we can just see like a very simple Hello World response here. All right, cool. Let's re-render this. Okay, so it got all the assets here. This looks correct. This looks like a correct set of assets. I need to fix the spacing in just a second. Okay, so it is now doing spacing right now. Okay, so that is interesting. It created another preview here just to show me that what the chessboard looks like with correct spacing. I'm going to go ahead and accept this. Okay, cool. So Let me go to chessboard over here, go to the parent and main activity. And I believe I can refresh this. Yeah.
And what things do you have to accept versus just like it happens automatically?
So the way I have Firebender configured right now is that it can just auto run everything. So it'll auto run terminal commands. It'll automatically make changes directly to the code base for me. And it'll tell me at the end, after it makes all the changes, like show me an actual diff of everything that's going on. So I can see like, this is the code that it's actually that it's modified, and review the code directly. And then also just like test the app as well directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is the list of when it's got like the view changes there at the bottom of the Firebender panel there, that is like all of the changes that have happened like for this change that it's making, is that right?
Yes. Okay. So for this single run, when we first started with the actual like Figma design, which was super basic, it's this thing. We just want to grab all the assets. It runs, it calls all the tools, it makes the changes, and then this is almost like an action log, if that makes sense. Like it tells you like, okay, this is what the AI agent has done, and then here is a running list of all the changes that's actually made, and you can quickly review those changes after you're done with like the agent session.
Got it.
Or edit the code directly as well. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
It does. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Great. So I'm going to start a new prompt, and I'm just going to say the spacing in the chess. Actually, I can just click this. So I'm going to go ahead and click this screen and say the spacing between the rows here are incorrect. I think this is spaced between, but it should all just be aligned at the top. And I'm going to go enter. And so what I just did here is I gave it like, I can click on the UI and just tell the AI agent what to do and like how to change the UI directly. And it has all the code snippets related to the actual UI itself, as well as like an image. And so let's just see if it's able to fix this. I need a build and refresh here. Okay, I believe this is because there's something with the row on the modifier range top vertical alignment. Let's see here. Okay. If possible, can the chessboard itself reuse the same spacing and sizing as the empty chessboard preview, which is correct. For some reason, it's expanding to fill the size of the container. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I think the main issue here is that we have the actual row itself is expanding, and we'll see if the AI agent can actually fix this as well. I believe it's because of this fill max size here. So, yeah.
Yeah, that seems like that would probably do it.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, I'll let that run. And over here on the back end, we have to design like the basic API. I think the first start here is we're going to have it just like handle a request and give us like an AI move as a response. And so I'm going to like ask it to generate that actual spec for this. So can you create a basic API spec for a service that takes a board state, which is a string, and also also the person's turn with a list of valid moves, all strings, and return a random valid move from this. Okay, as a string. Great. All right, let's just like have it hammer through that while I'm going.
Yeah, sounds great. And what is what LLMs does this connect to?
Yeah, so right now I'm using the default LLM, but you can select any LLM here. We have like GPT-5, low reasoning, high reasoning, Claude 4, 1 million context, as well as like Claude 4 Opus. The default model is just Claude 4 with no thinking. I found that to be like the best balance of accuracy and speed. Although GPT-5, I think I use sometimes for much harder tasks, and also Opus for also harder tasks as well. And so my recommendation is like default generally is pretty good. If you have a really hard task and it's not getting it, you can switch to GPT-5 or do like Claude 4 reasoning or Opus. But those frontier models are about the same in terms of intelligence. We've struggled a lot with Gemini 2.5 Pro as a coding agent. For like single shot, it's pretty decent. And so I don't know, like a lot of other people who are building AI coding agents as well have had this similar experience. And so this is kind of like why, I don't use it as much, especially because now Claude 4 has a million context window, which is kind of primarily what Gemini 2.5 Pro's like main spike was, is that you can throw a ton of data at it. And so, yeah. Okay, great. So I think it fixed this and it got this correct. So now we actually have a chessboard. And this is where we're going to ask it to do some pretty difficult business logic. We're not going to use a chess engine. We're just going to ask it to write the chess engine. So I'm creating a single player chess game. And I have all the UI components for it. Can you please, write the logic to actually make the game playable. And I will be playing against an AI. And for now, get AI move. FN function should just return a random possible valid move as the AI's move. Great. So what I'm doing here is now I'm just having like Firebender, hopefully like just one-shotting all the logic for making the actual chess game itself, like the chess game engine for the move logic, as well as like picking a random, valid move for the actual AI move itself. And so it's going to go ahead, and this might take a second. It's going to start looking through and just trying to make relevant changes here. And I'm going to check on the back end while that's going. But so far, we've got the chessboard. That took like maybe a couple minutes. It was able to grab all the SVGs and visually put it in the right place. And now it's going to actually make it playable, and we'll be able to play it in like maybe a minute or so.
Wow.
And now,
okay.
yeah. So, okay, great. Let's see where the back end is at here. Okay, I don't know why it came up with this. This makes, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just reject all this. This looks bad. So I'm gonna say something like, I don't want you to write code. Just put this in a MD file for architecture.md. It'll be something like post / board state string, and then valid moves string. Okay, great. Yeah, something super simple like this. Okay, and then let's refresh here. Nice. It's currently fighting with Gradle. Love to see it. Okay. Great. So it's trying to use lifecycle view model compose, which seems a little sus. Okay. I'm gonna just let that keep running. Okay, great. So it finished with the backend with the architecture. I'm gonna open this file here. Okay, so the idea here is that like this backend will actually like use ChatGPT to like make the next move, like I was mentioning before. And so we need to like set up the actual service to do this. This looks right to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, I'm gonna accept, do this, say go ahead and implement this. For now, the functionality should just return, let's see, should just return a random move in valid moves, and give me a curl command to test this. Okay, great. Okay, let's see. Okay, so now Firebender is actually making logic changes here to the chessboard. Okay, cool. It's got the initial chessboard. Okay, this will be interesting. It is creating chess game logic, which I think is the full chess engine. We'll see how it does. Yeah.
I love what Anton just said here. He said, once AI tools figure out Gradle, we can declare the AGI. That is true, man.
You know, it is funny. Like dude, Gradle, you know, honestly, like the only way we've tried, like the ways that we've tried to make AI agents work better with Gradle is giving commands, like getting feedback from the Gradle system. But not only is it like confusing for engineers, it is very confusing for AI agents as well. Like this, yeah. And so, but fortunately, like it can iterate and actually like use feedback from the IDE. And IntelliJ already has a pretty decent understanding of Gradle as well as Kotlin itself. And so with that feedback, the AI agent can actually make progress. I guess the analogy that I like to use is like, imagine you have like some staff level software engineer, but all the way that they write code has to be in Notepad++, right? And like that, no one is going to write like syntactically correct, accurate code immediately in Notepad++.
Right.
Like the iteration time is going to be a very long time. And like effectively what we've been doing to a lot of these LLMs is just like, hey, here's Notepad++. Now write good code, go. Like you have to do this now. And everyone gets mad when it doesn't do it well. And like, that's why we built the system like this, is like, we're trying to give like the LLM the actual same tools that we like know and love as engineers, right?
That makes sense. So like, are there things that you do to make Firebender like work specifically well? I assume specifically well with like Kotlin and Android projects, right? Like what things do you do for that?
One thing that's really nice compared to VS Code especially is that IntelliJ already has like a great understanding of Kotlin, right? And so like just using the linter error feedback and the build feedback, like built in, like we bake this in directly into the agent. So whenever it makes changes, it can immediately see what the actual errors are after its changes. So it knows, hey, I need to fix this, right? And so that's why all the code that Firebender will write is syntactically correct at the end. And I don't have to clean up like random things that it could have just cleaned up on its own. That's one thing. The other separate things, and we have like a lot of experimental tools here. We have like a go to definition tool. We also have a find usages tool where if you're doing like a refactor, I think something that I like to do a lot is I'll like, for example, this chess theme, right? I want to see all the things that use the chess theme, and I can do like this open find tool window. And this is really nice because I can go ahead and like, if I'm doing a refactor, I can see all the code that it touches, right? And this is like static. This is, there's no non-determinism here. Like it's either other files are using it or not. And so one nice thing is that the AI agent also has access to things like this, where it can just go ahead and see like, oh, I'm changing this class and this class method. What are all the things that are actually using this method? So I make sure I don't break existing code and make sure like this change makes sense. And that's one thing that's also really nice that we found helps quite a bit. So yeah, okay.
That's great.
All right. Okay, great. And then let's take a look at this backend. So it's running this. I'm going to just go ahead and run, I'm going to stop this, cancel command, and tell it to write the curl command. I think this looks good. Okay, cool. Okay, great. So
got a question from Umberto asking if Firebender knows that the backend project is related to chess. Did you do something to make it aware that that's what it's working with?
No, this is when I created it, like very early on. Like I can even pull up my terminal. I think I just did like I did make dir backend, and then I just opened it directly, like I opened an empty folder and had it build this entire service from scratch.
Okay.
So I had to create all the files for it. Yeah. Does that, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, like was there anything that you did to tell it that you're going to be building or you're going to represent a chess backend?
Yeah, in the prompt, I was essentially stating to it like, hey, well, I have like an idea of what the endpoint should look like, and I'm just telling it to like, this is what the interface should be. Just implement this interface. Don't think about anything else.
Yeah. Okay.
That was kind of the context I gave. But no, I didn't like include this entire. I could, you know, if it, you know, for whatever reason I need to just like copy main activity or like whatever, I can just paste that in here, right? And it has access to all the files here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, great. So where was I? Okay, so it says that there is something on. Okay, great. I can just copy this. Actually, is there? Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then I'll just be like, what is this? Yeah. Okay, great. So it's going to fix that. Nice. I did not read there. Okay, so looks like it is still working hard on the chess game. And the build is successful. It's now, okay, so I think this is coming to a close here. It is now modifying, let's see what the change here is. Okay, so it's saying the view model. Okay, great. So it says it's finished. So let's go ahead and actually see what it made for us. Okay. Okay, yeah, and we'll fix this max sizing here. So if I go here, okay, that seems potentially incorrect here. I'm gonna accept. Let me first look at this preview really quick and zoom out. Take a peek at this guy. Yeah, definitely seems like some render issues, some problems found while rendering preview. Okay, I've never seen this before. That is interesting.
Does it just need a rebuild or something?
It's possible. Let me rerun this. What's interesting is that, okay, let me go back here and take a look. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm gonna fix, I think it's okay if the preview doesn't work. I think the first thing I need to fix is the spacing here is incorrect, just like in the original chessboard preview here. For some reason, this preview is correct. Okay, yeah, I think this whole rendering thing is just broken. So say Android Studio issue, let's see. Okay, hold on. Previews are broken. Android Studio. Should I restart? I might need to restart this and reopen it potentially.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not not unusual to need to do that. I've had that happen sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let me try rerunning this again. Okay, so the backend should be running in just a second. Great. I'm gonna try this again. Cool. Okay, so it got a random position. So this looks good to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and accept this. We're gonna close that off. Okay, let's see. Project builds. I can see the problem is that the interactive is trying to instantiate a view model in the preview context. Yeah, that seems pretty bad. Don't do that. Okay. Let's build refresh. All right, So I think, yeah, I'm going to give this a restart. I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and then I'm going to close out this. Let's see if that fixes it.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I can maybe pull up a question or two from the audience if you're up for it.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Let's see here. We got a recent one asking, why'd you not define an architecture and rules beforehand for the agent? Is that something that you do often for like when you're coding in real projects?
I think for something from scratch, there's like usually there isn't any like real reason to put rules until like your code starts getting larger and larger. For massive code bases where you need more context, definitely really good to have rules on like how testing works, how the theming works, and like the actual styling where things are, or like what the different modules actually do. But because this is like from scratch, usually it's able to one shot a lot of this. Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
But,
what do you do for when you have like not just a single app, but I mean, even like with what you are working on here, you've got two projects, right? You got the app and the back end. Are there any like best practices that you've found for, helping the agent to understand not just the app, but the entire system?
So you could like what I see a lot of people do is that they'll have rules that tell like exactly which other what's the actual backend service if it's not linked via like a library, right? Because the statically linked stuff is really nice because you can just go to the definition of things, right? But for something where it's like an API, usually what people will say is like, hey, the backend is in this folder. So I can say something like, see what the backend does in .. /backend, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and so I can do this, and Firebender should. So it's able to actually list out and like see what is in the backend, and potentially can use this as context for implementing stuff in the main activity here or in my actual file. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. Okay, great. So let me take a look here. So the previews do work now. So it was a restart, which is classic. Okay, and then let me go to the actual main activity and do, let's see. Yeah, we're gonna get rid of this. See what happens. Let's go to, okay. I am going to ask Firebender to fix this. Okay, let's try this again. For some reason, the spacing between the rows is completely off. I think the individual rows are growing to fill up space in the column. Please confine the column to be exact sizing to just have all the rows tightly right next to each other. I don't know. I'm literally just going to describe this in.
That works for me. That is pretty neat though. You had like there's a little Firebender button on the preview.
Yeah. So to explain what's going on here, what you can do is you can just toggle this and select anything within the actual preview and just make changes to it. The other thing too that a lot of people like doing is they'll toggle this, which you can select any like actual UI component to see the exact spacing measurements. And this is nice if you're doing like design review or things like that for iterating with the Figma designer to help you debug like what's going on here.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay, so it almost did it. I'm gonna just also, I like this is another thing that a lot of people do too. Like this is why we made this is because people were doing this a lot.
Just screenshotting.
Where they just screenshot like this and then they'll like drag it in here, right? And just be like, now it's too squished, right? Yeah, something like that. That's why we built this. But okay, so it sort of fixed it. I'm gonna have it iterate again and try and fix it even more. And then I think, I think the core issue here though is that when I actually make the move, And so it can detect that I'm not making the move here, but for some reason the UI isn't actually reflecting the actual underlying board game state, right? And so we're going to, okay, so it looks like it already made the changes. It's pretty fast. Yeah. Can you do the rows to just be exact? Or stacked top of each other. No space between. Yeah, maybe do padding. Yeah, we're just going to revert that because I think it made a bad change there.
We do have a question while you're working on that. Is there an online community where people can discuss features and issues with Firebender?
Yeah, so we do have a Discord. If you just go to firebender.com, you can go all the way down here, and there's a Discord link right here. You can just join it. A lot of people are super active there, and we all discuss like how to, what are like some of the emerging best practices for Firebender. I think this is the thing. Like a lot of these best practices are kind of being discovered in real time as well, and so it's really hard to say like, oh, like best practices to create a spec-driven development, right? When it's like at the end of the day, it is just like another way of putting something into a prompt, I guess. And so like it is a little confusing, especially because a lot of these models are also changing as well in their behavior and underneath the hood. And so I think the unfortunate reality is like we're all kind of just trying a bunch of things and seeing what works well and what doesn't. And those things are evolving constantly. And I think we'll evolve a lot in the next year or so as well. Okay, whoops, sorry, need to retry that. Okay, I think while that's going, I'm gonna try and hook up ChatGPT directly now with this. So what I'm gonna do is set up support for a .env file, which will have my OpenAI API key, and I'll input that API key off screen, and then OpenAI Kotlin SDK. We'll just go ahead and we'll just copy this. Like, let's see, README. Like, I just don't want to think right now. I'm like thinking about the live stream and comments.
Oh yeah, I'm probably not helping by popping these comments up on you.
No, it's good. It's good. It's a good challenge. And instrument a basic call to OpenAI 4.1. Let's also grab the example that they have here in chat. I can just copy this. Yeah, this is perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, and have the AI give one of the valid move strings. Great. Okay, so this is going to go off, and it has to do a lot of things here to get this right. It has to get the actual correct dependency. It has to, hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, am I on a debug build stream? Let me switch to GPT-5. That is surprising. Something is weird here. Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay. We'll just use GPT-5. Is Anthropic having an incident? Hold on. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay.
Oh yes.
That's why. Yeah. This is
that would do it. Huh?
Yeah, that would do it. This is why we have multiple models. Okay, so that is kind of annoying, but we'll roll with it. All right, so we'll just use GPT-5. This works fine. So it's now it's going to go off. We have the backend running. It's going to actually do the setup for the OpenAI API client, and then also this front end here is going to fix the padding here as well. Okay. Yeah. What are the chances that there would be an incident at this moment?
Well, anytime you're doing a demo, there's a much higher chances, right?
No, for sure. Okay, great. And then I think I'm going to just also kick off a background agent to try and address the logic. So for some reason, the UI state is not reflecting the actual player move. I need you to take a look at this. User makes a move, E4 with pawn, but the AI doesn't respond with, but the UI doesn't show the move, and there is no responding AI move rendered either. Please fix this. Okay, so we're gonna kick that off in the background. And so this will just run in parallel here. This is going to be interesting.
Is there a limit to how many, like how many instances of IDEs have you had running with Firebender at one time?
I've had like 20.
Oh goodness.
So, yeah, but I mean that's just like me kicking, like just spamming it, like saying like hi and then hitting Command Enter and then saying like like just doing this right over and over again. But typically I'll have like maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Usually,
okay.
Like doing like general research and stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and stop all of these and close them. These are all like also isolated work trees, like workspaces. So these won't conflict. And that's kind of nice because if they're completely different changes, I don't want them to conflict here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got one comment asking, how do you do the background task?
Yeah. So I'm using a bunch of hotkeys, but you can just hit Command Enter to have it run in the background. And so when I typed it all out, I just hit Command Enter, and that's like a very simple way to just run things in the background. Yeah. Hopefully that should be very straightforward. Okay, so it looks like it did fix the padding here. Fortunately, thank you GPT-5, really appreciate it. And then this other thing is now trying to actually understand why there might be a bug in the underlying view model. And so that's going to go ahead and debug this. I'm going to take a look here. Okay, so like you can tell that now I can't move here. And so it does get the actual like valid moves correct, but the problem is it's not actually rendering the move that was made. So I think that is the underlying bug here, and hopefully this agent will solve that. So before we had it so like view-wise the spacing didn't work, and then also these were not interactive, and now they are. And okay, great. So this is this looks fine. I'm gonna go to the env example. Okay, never commit your good point. Thank you, AI. Okay, so this is where I'm going to actually go off screen and put an environment key there. We may be strapped for time, I think. How are we doing on that?
Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, actually surprisingly.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have a lot of folks who are hanging out, but
Okay.
yeah, so if you think we're close on it, that's fine. But I'm good. I got time.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I have time as well. Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to create this M variable. I don't want to accidentally leak our OpenAI keys.
Yeah, good thinking.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be fine. I mean, no, it wouldn't be fine, but I would just revoke the key. Yeah. Here, I'll show it for 2 seconds. See if any of you guys get it.
Perfect.
No,
yeah. Get your cameras ready.
Yeah. Like, oh no. Okay. All right. Okay. OpenAI API key equals this. Okay. Boom. Done. Okay. Let's see if it's in here now. Oh no. Not cat. That's not what I want. Okay, yeah, great. So we have our environment variable. Very nice. Okay, I did not read any of this code, so let's just see if it works. Yeah, I have no idea what is going to happen here, but it's fine. So we're going to do the same thing. And before we had to pick a random valid move, and now it's going to, okay, here we go. We got a bug. So I can just go ahead and just click this button and tell it to fix it. So now it has the full stack trace.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll let that fix that problem. And let's take a look here. So this thinks that it did fix the issue. So I'm going to go ahead and run this app here. And the nice thing too is that like with the background agent is that because it's isolated, I can run and test it. Okay, so this works. The UI is broken, but that's because we fixed in the other parallel agent, right? But like right now it's like making random valid moves.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just accept. Looks good to me. And I can create a PR, but I'm going to apply all of these onto my original branch. Okay, so it says rebase committed changes onto parent branch. Let me go ahead and commit everything here just in case. I don't want to lose all this.
Yeah, once it's working right.
Yeah.
Go ahead and save what you got.
Commit checkpoint. We'll just call it checkpoint 1, I guess. I don't know. Okay, great. Cool. We will apply changes to original branch. Okay, so there are some merge conflicts. Let's resolve some of these conflicts here. So it looks like all the conflicts are in, dot idea should be ignored. So I'm going to just like X both of these. Like this doesn't even matter, honestly. Just apply. Apply changes mark as resolve. So there were no merge conflicts. That's good. I'm going to really quick tell the agent to ignore dot idea and anything else unreasonable, please. I mean, I could write it out, but like, I mean, honestly, we should add a voice mode where I could just talk to it. Like, I don't even want to type.
Some of it is, yeah. Some of it you could probably do by just talking.
Yeah. Okay. So there were a few other merge conflicts here. Okay. Let's see. Changes from server. Okay. This seems like a decent amount. So I'm going to go ahead and actually stop this because that's not the biggest problem right now. This miscellaneous.idea, this seems fine, whatever, I'll apply it. And I'm gonna just tell the AI agent to fix the merge conflicts in chessboard and main activity. Activity, please. There were 2 fixes, one for UI cleanup, which is correct, and one for logic cleanup, which is also correct. Okay, great. And then I'm gonna just, yeah. Okay, cool. So that'll continue. And over here, I could also rebase and merge, but I think this is good enough. Like this proved that it was able to fix this. Just in case these merge conflicts don't get resolved cleanly, I'm gonna ask it to output a plan.md or bugfix.md describing the actual bug fix you did. Okay, boom, done. All right, so, okay. Yeah, now I'm going back to the backend here. I'm at this point, I'm speedrunning to get this in. So
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody said just keep going until you get checkmate.
Yeah. Well, I also want to play. I want to play against ChatGPT and see how bad I am compared to it. Okay, great. So it works. It's able to pick a actual move. Let's confirm that by add a couple debug logs around the moves itself. We're going to do that. And then so when I make the move, I can see like what the AI agent or what like ChatGPT is thinking whenever it's making the move over here. It does tell me like some of this, which is nice. Okay. Yeah, I gotta be careful there. Okay, cool. And then, okay, so we have the markdown file, which is great. Let's go back here, see what's going on. Still working on the merge conflicts. Okay, it seems to have fixed these conflicts, which is nice. Let's see here. Okay, very soon we should be able to have like pretty solid setup for now hooking it up with the backend to actually have the AI make moves. That should take like maybe another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it like talking about all the different
Yeah.
LLMs that you can use with it, is it like when a new version of say like GPT comes out, is it just like drop in place and you're good to go, or you have like stuff that you have to do for the agent to work with it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think one of the one of the hard things that I mentioned about LLMs is that whenever they release a new LLM, there can be like a very stark difference in behavior. And so anytime a new LLM gets released, like ChatGPT 5, for example, Zach and I, Zach is one of our engineers. We literally we have a bunch of internal benchmarks for various coding tasks, and we run it through that as like a drop-in replacement. But oftentimes it actually doesn't do better than the existing frontier models until we have to just bang our heads against the prompt and review the action log. We'll literally review this log of things that the AI agent is doing and just be like, okay, why for some reason GPT-5 really listens to this part of our system prompt of being proactive, and now it's doing really dumb things just spamming read files and trying to read every part of the code base, which we know you don't have to do, right? And so this is that, and that's kind of the process for doing this. But we will if a new model comes out, we will just release it immediately with our base prompt and just allow people to play around with it immediately.
Okay, so it's available right away, but you end up doing a little tweaking on it as it goes, I guess.
Yeah, basically over the course of several days, we do a lot of tweaking to basically get it to a state where we think we're happy with. We think we've gotten the most juice out of the frontier model.
That's great.
Yeah, so looks like it fixed the merge conflicts, and now we have both the UI fix as well as the actual logic working. So thank you, GPT-5. I'm going to accept all those changes. Yeah, yeah. So okay, great. So now we're at the last step, which is hooking up this API with this, to actually. Right now, all these steps, all these moves are random. So the AI is pretty bad at making, our AI is pretty dumb at the moment because it is just picking a random possible chess move, which is not good. That would be still probably better than some chess players though. But yeah, no, it's just there's a lot of good chess memes. Okay, so this looks fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and accept this guy. We're going to rerun this, and then I'm going to call the endpoint. This is where I'm going to go ahead and actually have it create the client now for my for the actual API. So over here, also these conflicts should all be resolved. So let's, yeah, I think, what is this related to? Enhance main screen. I don't think we need any of this. How do I? Is there any way to just get rid of this? Just be okay, we're done.
Just trying to revert it or just cancel out of it? Just close.
I think all the conflicts are fixed. That's the confusion is that this actually runs, and I'm a little confused why the IDE is still showing conflicts if there's no conflicts here. If that makes sense, there's none of this,
Right.
You know, so
what are the red? You do have a couple of red lines on there. Was that? Were they errors that?
Yeah, these are just errors here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart. I'm going to reopen this again because Android Studio. Yeah. So give me 1 second.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Very nice. Okay.
And while you're doing that, what about privacy when using Firebender? Can we use our own ChatGPT account, for example?
Yeah, so you can go and just go to plugins here, look up Firebender, and in the Firebender settings, you can configure your own base URL and your own API keys. I will say though that that means that a lot of features won't work. So that's the caveat. And for example, autocomplete has to be our own model. That's not something that any of these model providers can offer something fast enough for autocomplete. And this is possible. Separately, we have a very, very friendly privacy policy that applies to all tiers, like not just like business tiers, but also the like if you use it for free, we make it very clear that we do not store any of your code data. Like we straight up don't have a database for code data at all, right? Like we just have like authentication and rate limits. And then also all of our third-party AI model providers, we have a zero data retention agreement with several of these companies. So OpenAI and Anthropic, we have a data retention agreement with them where whenever we send requests to them, they also do not store your data as well. And
Okay.
we would never pick a model provider that trained on your data or had like a crazy unreasonable data retention agreement. I think it's very important. Like the best policy is that these people just do not have your data. Like that, like not even just that they don't train on your data, that they also are not storing
Like not keeping it. Yeah.
Yeah, not keeping it, right? Like it should only exist for the life of the request and then that's it, right? And I'd say that this is like much more friendly than most AI coding assistants out there. So, okay. All right, I think that's fine. We'll just leave the merge conflict here or whatever is going on here. That's, it is what it is. And we'll just keep banging through because this works. And now we just need to hook up the API. So can you hook up the API in ... backend? And for the get AI move function, call this backend directly. I will have it running separately, so don't worry about testing this. And provide the board game state of chess and list of valid moves. Okay, great. And we're gonna just send this off, and this should be like the last part of integration here. While that's going, I am going to just take one peek at the back end here. And let's see. So, and this is also like a very crude way to create a chess like AI. Usually like what you could do is do like a mini max tree or something like that. That's pretty standard. But I thought this would be a little bit more fun. So, okay, so it did add debug logs, which is great. And it is running. So let me just see what's going on underneath the hood when I hit this. Okay, so we are hitting OpenAI and it's getting the actual, great. Let's take a look at the prompt that it created. You are a game AI. From the provided valid moves, choose a single move and reply with exactly the chosen move string with no additional text, quotes, or formatting. Okay, seems pretty standard. Valid moves, great. That looks fine to me. Actually, I want to add more debug logs here. I think the selected move here, why is that not showing up here? Did I rerun this? Let me rerun this really quick just to verify. Okay. Let's see. For some reason, these logs don't show up in the .gradle w run output. Please fix this.
For those merge conflicts, might just be that like maybe just needs like a git add to finish it, even though the stuff has been resolved. Saying that the repo itself is in a merge conflict state.
Perfect. Yep,
That's
that fixed it. Yep. Thanks.
Cool.
Thanks, Aman. Yeah, Aman's my co-founder as well. He's watching this. Okay, so this is okay. So we asked it here to go to the back end and actually take a look, and implement the client to actually do this. What's interesting is that it did not read any of the backend files yet. Okay, so it's creating an AI client. It's interesting. Okay. All right. Wait, let me just restart this actually. You need to read files in backend folder, which is okay, cool. I'm going to go with that. And then also I'm just going to say use retrofit and keep it simple. Cool. Okay, we're at 940. All right, so this should have fixed the logging issue. And I will run this. Okay. Comment headers.
We did have one question asking if Firebender's free, and I know you mentioned the free tier before. Maybe while you're working on this, you can talk about the differences in the tiers.
Yeah, so over here, like you can just use, there's like some limit on the agent request that you can use, but you can just try it out for free and you'll have like a refresh once a month. There's also a 14-day free trial as well to get like the full developer experience.
Great.
Yeah. All right. I think that's okay that we might not be getting logs here. That's fine. We're just waiting on this last agent here. This is the final final step. All right. This guy is working, taking his sweet time. Yeah. Okay. And I think let me just take a look at the code here while it's doing that. So if my understanding correctly is that everything is in the game, chess game logic, and you have like make move, and then there's also the AI move, make AI move here. This is the most relevant. So get AI move. What this is doing is it seems like it's getting all possible moves like this. So it'll need to serialize and deserialize from the request the actual move itself. So I'm interested to see if like Firebender can actually figure that out, because this seems like it would be pretty complicated to actually understand. So over here it is, okay, so calculate possible moves, get pawn moves, great. This looks fine. Moves at all, get rook moves, okay. Get coin moves. Okay, so it's actually doing algebraic notation. That is super interesting. Yeah, we'll see if it can do algebraic notation correctly, because that's pretty complex. Yeah. And then also the other thing it mentioned too that it needs to do is it needs to add network. Needs to add internet permissions. So we should see that.
Internet permissions, yep.
Yeah.
That happens every single time, doesn't it?
Yeah. Anytime you do something from scratch. So it was able to do that in the Android manifest here. So great. Yeah, cool. Okay, while this is going, I think there was another question that was interesting, like selecting two branches and seeing their diff as context. One thing that you can do with Firebender is you can just go to I'll just go to our repo. It doesn't matter. So if I go to GitHub, just do a Copilot, and then we'll just do like one random request. If I copy this, right, and then paste this into, I don't have it set up on my Android Studio, but if I go to IntelliJ over here, so this is like our actual code for Firebender itself. And if I paste this in here, we can see the actual PR of giving, I'm just copying a PR from GitHub and then just pasting it directly here to give it context and review, do a code review for me. Yeah, so I thought that is somewhat relevant to that question. Yeah, okay. Okay, great. So it says it's finished. So I'm just gonna hit run and let's just hope it one shot this.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll see.
Yeah.
See how it goes here.
So backend is running right now, and let's see if the moves are reasonable. Okay, the moves are very reasonable. So this is a common counter opening to the Queen's Gambit. So right now I'm playing ChatGPT. So let's see if I can win. So that's a common response. Okay. I don't know how many of you like chess, but this is kind of wild. So I don't know, Dave, where do you think I should move here?
Oh, Matt, you're asking the wrong guy.
Okay, no worries. Okay.
If you want to lose quickly, I'm sure I can help.
Yeah. All right. That was not a very good move. But okay, maybe. Yeah. And for reference, like GPT-4, I think is like not super great at chess. We could do GPT-5 and that elo will be much higher. But yeah, this is like, I mean,
it's playing, right? You know?
Yeah. So this is me playing against ChatGPT, and it's hitting a backend right now. And we were able to code up all the logic for chess, like the UI and stuff in, I don't know, like initially it took like maybe 20 minutes to get the UI, and then the actual like game logic, maybe another 20 minutes. And then hooking everything up here took like, I think a decent chunk of time, but yeah, so you have chess here. Yeah.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah. I mean, we can make this is not a valid move, but it is what it is. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, we can maybe just get to a few questions here. Is this, by the way, do you want to put these, you could put these up on, I don't know if it'd help, you could put it up on GitHub somewhere for people to download if they wanted maybe these two projects, just in case they wanted to keep moving with it.
Totally, yeah.
But yeah, in the meantime, we can burn through a few questions if you're up for it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I can stop sharing my screen.
Oh yeah, that's fine. We're back to just two of us here. Yeah, and so we'll probably wrap up here in just a few minutes. So folks in chat, if you got any other questions, go ahead and get them in. Let's see what we got here. Got this one. Sometimes there's a code snippet in Firebender window with a copy and apply button at the upper right of it. What does the apply button do? Never had reason to press it, and I'm afraid to.
Yeah, that is a great question. That's funny because that's maybe a UX that is a little bit older. So apply is whenever you have a code snippet and you're in read mode, right? And you want this exact code snippet to be merged very cleanly into your existing window, like your existing editor. Apply will do that using AI and just very quickly merge that code inside the window. But nowadays, like, people don't really use it as much, mainly because the AI agent can just make the edit directly for you. This is like part of the older cursor UX when there was no coding agent. It was just you just ChatGPT gives you a code snippet. Well, now you got to copy and paste that code snippet into the editor, and so apply was like one form of that. And there's like a lot of technical discussion on how they did that and like why merging code snippets into code is actually quite a difficult problem. Like that is not an easy problem at all. And it's sort of like a fuzzy algorithm to actually make work. But yeah.
Anything I've noticed with anytime I've tried to do any kind of like diff on things that's by anything other than like by line, like line by line, it can be very complex very quickly. So we got this one from Tom. Tom says, how does the isolation background mode work?
So that's a good question. Underneath the hood, what's happening is that when I hit Command Enter, right, with the prompt, what it's doing is it's creating a Git work tree and a lightweight copy of the indexes, so that like your instance or your new instance of IntelliJ or Android Studio is completely isolated from like your current workspace. And so that way the AI agent can go off and make a bunch of edits without like blocking you, like the core programmer, which is like the main thread of work. And so that's really important. Separately, like we had to do a lot of optimizations here because a lot of people that we work with have massive mono repos, right? And so to make like the Git work tree work for them, as well as the indexing work really quickly, like this is something that we had to spend a lot of time figuring out. And now at this point, it's used by like a ton of large companies, large enterprises. So yeah,
that's great. And I guess we talked a little bit through. Let me pull this one up here about how do you set up Firebender in your workflow to get the best results. We talked a little bit about kind of the workflow stuff, but yeah, any other thoughts on the best way to incorporate that into your workflow?
I think generally what I highly recommend for a lot of engineers to do, and it's the same for us, is to try and use it vanilla, like without any complex configurations, just to get a feel for where Firebender like does things well or maybe doesn't understand things from your code base, and then add on rules or like commands or rule sets for the coding agent as you like start noticing these behaviors and patterns. The reason why I suggest that is because oftentimes a lot of people will have like pre-written rules that they think are helpful for the agent, but might actually confuse it because it already knows these things, right? And so it's like you only want to add stuff. You want to basically do like the minimal amount of added context for the agent. And I found that to be like the best approach for a lot of teams. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I would think that you would, if anything, err on the side of over-specifying. But that's interesting that that's not always effective.
I mean, part of it is like the way to think about it is like all these LMs have a limited context window. And so like imagine you have like a junior engineer and you're telling that junior engineer context over everything about your code base when they're just trying to resize a button. Like they're gonna be like, dude, like I don't need this. Like, why are you telling me this? Like, I just need to know where the button is.
Stuff. Yeah,
it's just irrelevant, and so that can be very confusing. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We got this one asking, since both this and Cursor use the same LLMs, what is the difference between them other than the integration, IntelliJ integration versus full IDE? Would the code output differ?
Yeah, so our coding agent, there's two sides to this. One is that we use a very similar like coding agent structure that they do for the foreground agent. So what you saw when it was iterating and doing all the tool calls, the background agent's a little different. That one is a little bit more like Claude Code, where it's designed for longer running tasks and things that are going to be like maybe harder to implement, and like you can have. The idea is that you can copy a Jira ticket, right, with a spec, paste it in a long-running agent that can run in the background so it's not bothering you and you can just focus on your stuff, can just like do much more of the work possible. The other thing that I would like to add as well is that like Cursor's background agent requires you to set up a cloud, like have a cloud setup where you now need to host all of your code in some cloud container, and also make sure that the developer environment in that cloud container makes sense to the coding agent. And like, that's not like a very good UX in my opinion, because like, how do you iterate and test app changes, right? Well, now I have to go and pull down a branch and then, like, okay, well, it doesn't compile because it doesn't even have the lint feedback, right? Because it's VS Code. So like all those things in my mind is pretty much non-starter. And with our background agent, it's like, well, you can just hit Command Enter. It starts up a lightweight work tree in like 1 or 2 seconds. And then whenever it's done, you can immediately test the app by just clicking a button, right? And just reusing what you already understand about the IDE. I would say that's a pretty big difference. Yeah.
That's great. Another one here. What's the scope of customization of Firebender.json for rules? Can we extend it for more than just the predefined keys?
Yeah, so we have a lot of work on this front, but right now at the very moment, you can customize a series of rules for like different kinds of files. So you can say like, hey, if it matches like the test files, then here is like a markdown file that you should always include into context. So like what a lot of people do is they have a very very bespoke or custom setup with testing. And so they'll have like a sample test, right, inside this like markdown file. And inside the Firebender rules, they'll say like, hey, anytime you're modifying a file that ends in test.kt, pull in this sample file that tells you about like, how our test structure works. And that tends to like help the agent understand. So like there's some like contextual rules that you can configure. Separately, we're also backwards compatible with the Cursor rules as well. So if you already have like .cursor/rules, that should just work in Firebender. The other thing I want to add too that's super important is if you find yourself rewriting the same prompt over and over again, like a plan, like /plan, for example, you can create your own custom commands, which are like these predefined prompts that tell Firebender exactly what to do. So if you found a prompt that works really well and you want to share that with your team, you can just add it as a / command. And just like in Discord or Slack, whenever you hit the /, it'll just show up as an option, and then you just hit enter and type less. So yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's neat.
Yeah. All
right, and last question we got here is just asking, what is the future plan for Firebender?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. We have a lot of things on our roadmap. I think, I mentioned the history of coding agents, right? And like how we started out with just a single chat response. That's it. There's no iteration. Well, actually, before that, we started out with just character suggestions, then a single chat response. Now we have a coding agent that can operate in like actual make tool calls and like iterate against your code base. And now that we have background agents with Firebender, now you can have many, many background agents to actually horizontally scale changes and do things like that. I think the main things that we're focused on here in our roadmap is improving accuracy. Like we want to make it so that the background agent, when you kick it off, is just much smarter and like much better. And like it lifts a lot of the cognitive load from you as an engineer. Separately, we're also adding things like hooks where you can, like when some event happens, right? Like in, your engineering like experience, like if a Jira ticket gets added and it's assigned to you, it can automatically kick off a background agent and create up like a branch to try and solve that. And you can very easily verify like, okay, well, does this work by just hitting play, right? Like that's the minimum amount of work. And then like round out all the issues from there. That is something that we're actively working on. And then I think also just generally like better integrations within the IDE. I think we want to do things like, can we like create like the Gradle like configurations for you? Can we run Gradle configurations for you? Like all these nice to have hooks. Like we just want to make sure that the IDE feels very clean and like almost seamless, like to work with AI, so that it's not like doing a bunch of like, it's actually like right there whenever you need it. But yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, a lot of exciting things then coming down the pike.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Kevin, before we wrap up, where can folks go to keep up with you or learn more about Firebender?
So, I mean, one of the best ways is to join our Discord. Like, we're super active there. We'd love to talk to you and like hear your thoughts. We also hop on voice calls like whenever with any engineer that has problems, and that's something we do in common. Other ways is like you can follow our blog. We write a lot of technical pieces on like where we think the future is going and like some of the problems that we're facing and we're having. And that's just on firebender.com. And they're all pretty short reads as well. And yeah.
Great.
So
yeah. And any, I guess before we go, if people want to try out Firebender, what can they do for that?
Yeah, so we're offering, because this is like one of the first live streams that we're doing, and also Dave is an awesome host and super thankful for being here. We're offering 50% off for 6 months for all tiers. So like you can, if you sign up with Firebender, you get 50% off using the TypeAlias code that's specifically just for Dave.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for that. That's very generous of you. And yeah, we've got the code for that. I think we've got that in the description for YouTube, if I remember right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much for that. It's very generous offer for 6 months as well for half off. So that's very generous of you. So definitely everybody out there, take advantage of that. And it's also, there's not any like, this is not a sponsored thing or anything. We just, Kevin and I just got talking and said, yeah, this would be fun to do. So yeah, so I'm not getting anything out of that, but 50% off for you is a great deal. So yeah, go take advantage of that for sure. All right, well, that's about going to do it for this episode. So thanks again to our special guest, Kevin Tang. Thanks so much for being here, Kevin. I'm going to hit the applause button there. And we've got more videos and live streams are coming up soon. In the meantime, thanks so much for hanging out with us today, and I'll see you next time.